Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. That was a mouthful. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio.
on your hometown station, KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our speakers this morning, or our guests, are Sharon Brubaker. She is a grief recovery specialist. Welcome.
Welcome.
It's good to see you again.
Yes, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Later in the hour, we will have Myles McNamara of Comfort Keepers in Home Care, one of our sponsors. Okay, Sharon.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Thank you for having me. It's so cool.
Good seeing you again.
I love this. Is my favorite subject to talk about.
Well, I'd like to share something with you. Were you here the last time when I told you we had lost our kitty?
No.
Yes, she was very ill. She had kidney, you name it, pancreas, everything wrong with her. And we took her to the vet, and they gave her medication, and I brought her home, but I couldn't give her the medication because it was in the neck through a cone, and very uncomfortable. So we took her back, and they kept her there for a couple of days and called us and said, "You need to come in. We need to talk." And so Russ and I went in and discussed a lot of things with the vet. And he said she's not going to recover. And she's going to be in a lot of pain. And we said, "Do you recommend that we have her put to sleep?" And Russ asked him, he said, "What would you do?" And he said, "I would put her to sleep." So that's what we did. We were there when it happened. And a couple of days ago, they called me and said, "We have her remains." And I went by to pick it up, and it is in a beautiful oak box, about this big and about that high, with a heart on it with her name, Spice. And then they gave us a paw print, which I thought was so nice.
Oh, that's
you
nice.
know, and I'm thinking, that just completes the cycle. She was 15 years old. And boy, her sister really misses her.
Yeah. Oh, I can't
Oh
even
my
imagine.
goodness, you
I
can
can't
tell
imagine
that
what you and Russ are going through. Man.
I mean, well, it's been 3 weeks now,
Yeah.
but still, you just don't get over something like that when you've had her for 15 years,
And what happens with the pet? Pet love is sheer love both ways. You and I have shared this. Like, you look at that
Yes.
kitty and she just loves you back. There's no disciplining that needs to be done most times, right?
That's
They're the
right.
ones that are happy to see you when you get home. They come and give you all of that love, and you love them back. And it is an absolute grief that occurs in our heart.
Well, one of the things that happens in the evening when I go to bed, Spice used to go over to Russ because he sleeps in his chair, and she'd put her feet up like this, looking to see if his lap was prepared, and he'd say, "Come on," and she'd jump up, and she was there for the
Oh,
night.
Yeah.
And then Ginger would follow me into the bedroom and sleep. She still does. She sleeps with me. But it's incredible. It's almost like losing a partner.
Absolutely.
A mother, a father, a husband, a sister, and brother.
Well, and we don't compare our losses like that, but we know that it is a true loss
It
and an
is.
emptiness in our heart.
very
When we have a
painful.
loss, it is like a knife was stabbed in our heart. When we complete that loss, the pain, the knife is removed, but the hole will forever be there. You will forever miss her and think about her, but the pain is gone. That's what grief recovery does. We go after the pain.
Yeah.
Bless your heart.
Well, it's the same thing. I lost my son 32 years ago, and that pain still comes in every once in a while because I have pictures of him around with his motorcycle and all that kind of stuff, and I'll look up at him and I'll think, what would you be doing if you were here now? You know, it's incredible. He'd still be riding motorcycles, I can tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Probably doing that and some other great things. I think about, and I shared just the other day, that 22-year-old Austin was 10 when he died, 22-year-old Austin, I would love to see right now.
Yes.
That's not the case.
Yes.
But there is no pain for me because I completed my relationship with him. I completed the
That's
pain
right.
to the loneliness and isolation of everything that's left unsaid. It's the same thing we do for our beautiful kitty. What's crazy is that society doesn't accept that. It is not uncommon for people to tell us, and please don't get offended, but it was just a cat. It's just your dog. It's just a bird. I literally have people that come
know.
in and their hearts are so broken for the love of their pet. And even seniors, can you imagine when seniors are in their home and this is their love and
That's
it
right.
happens to them? A lot of time the caregivers and the people close to them want to discount that as it's just a pet. It's a true heartbreak.
That's
We
right.
have
Well,
to accept that as society.
but the
Yeah,
caregivers don't understand.
Yeah.
They come in 8 hours a day
Yeah.
or 12 hours a day or whatever, but they don't understand
Yeah.
the closeness that you've had
Yeah.
with that cat.
Yeah.
So my
that
question is,
pet.
why don't they understand? Why isn't that sensitivity there?
Because we want to
They haven't
put the
experienced it.
grief in a layer of pain. If you lose a parent, that's one degree that people will accept. The other thing that happens when you lose a parent, oddly enough, if that parent is very young, society will give you more time to recover from that.
right.
Isn't that strange? But if the parent is older, or let's say in older years, they're like, be happy you had them so long. But it becomes a tragedy if you lose a parent that's 30 or 40, 50 years old. It's just in our head. It's just the way society accepts it.
That's
if
right.
you lose a child, then you're told you'll never get over the loss of that child. You'll never feel better. This was not natural. It shouldn't happen to you. Then the next thing is a brother or a sister. And a grandparent goes up in that. I don't give as much respect and time to the grandparent as that. It's just a scale that society places on us, the
That's right.
griever, when in actuality, no one knows what our relationship was with that loved one. The relationship could have been quite ugly. It could have been mean. I could lose a husband, and I could have been in a terrible marriage, but I'm still going to grieve. I'm going to
That's
grieve
right.
to the loneliness, the pain, the isolation, and everything I needed to say to them.
But can we talk a little bit about a different issue?
Sure.
Other than a person passing away, what about an absence of a person in someone's life?
Yes.
I was a spokesperson for LA County on fatherlessness.
Yes.
And one of the things I discussed a lot was the lack of a father in a child's life, especially in a young boy's life. And because of that loss, they did not grow up in a way where the presence would have made a big difference. And that recognition needed to be made. And right away, we were trying to make sure those kids who had absent fathers, especially young boys of color, would recognize, hey, this is a problem. And of course, we went out and tried to fulfill those needs of those young men to make sure that they had someone there. But absence across the board, whether it be in a young person or even in some kind of relationship, absence is a problem as well.
You are 100% right. You're 100% right. I'm grieving with a young man right now, and his father wasn't present in his life. We know for a fact as grief recovery specialists, there are 40 known losses that a person can encounter that can cause a grieving experience in our heart, 40 or more.
40 or more.
Right. So death is just the most popular because that's what everyone associates grief with, right?
That's true.
But what about divorce? Breakup of a romantic relationship? And exactly what you're saying, absence. So let's say I'm going along in my life and I have a great relationship with my mom, but my dad was never there. But she did the best that she could to fill that spot. There comes a time in our life, think of just even that little kid being in kindergarten and it's back to school night and another kid comes up to him and says, where's your dad? How many times do you get asked that question in elementary school? And then I've had grievers tell me, well, I just ignored the question, or I would pretend like my uncle was my dad, or I would tell him my dad was working late. That is an absolute loss, definitely for a young man. Second of all, what about a young girl? A relationship with a young girl and her father, he sets the tone for who she's going to be as a woman, right? He sets the tone, the father sets the tone for how she's going to accept her relationship with other men. An absence of a father is huge. Then I'll take it one step further. I've worked with people that have been adopted. That loss of the hopes, dreams, and expectations, that the wanting to always wondering who they were, who the adoptive parents were. What about that whole, even though my parents that adopted me were amazing, there's this longing for who the other parents were.
And the best part about this, Sharon, these days, is that we have DNA.
Yes.
And we can go back now, and we're seeing a lot of
Yes.
of kids and adults seeking their family, and being able, they're doing spitting into the bottle and sending it off, and all of a sudden this relative comes back, you don't know who it is. And I think there was one in a newspaper recently about someone who found their father.
Yes.
And after their whole life, they didn't know who he was, but here they were reunited with him, and it's been depicted on TV. So we have DNA to now help us with that loss.
And even the Ancestry.com is connecting people. So people are going on through Ancestry.com and 23andMe, and they are letting other family members know, hey, you may have a possible niece, you may have a possible nephew. The other thing that happens with the griever when they connect with those family members is they've realized that the other family, the one that put them up for adoption at this point, is doing well. Sometimes I've had the family were very wealthy. And then there comes the loss of trust and safety. And why didn't they keep me? Why didn't they keep me? They had the money. Why didn't they keep me? And so the answers to that why is sometimes where we're really trying to figure out for our heart. Why did this happen this way? Why did I go this way? Why was my dad not around? And that's for each person to discover for themselves, and that's what I walk them through.
Best story, recent story is with in my mom's neighborhood. There was a lady who did her DNA, and she found out that she was related to Thomas Jefferson. But she's African American.
Hello.
That's very interesting.
So, and it's, quite a story that you have a neighbor all of a sudden that has this lineage that didn't realize.
Wow.
So I was wondering why, my great-grandson has light-colored eyes.
Yeah.
So things like that are happening these days. It's to me, very exciting to be able to go into a whole different world of people and friends and family and discover that.
For sure. 100%. And that's a change. What about a major change in our life? Like all of a sudden, there's a major change that happens in our life that can cause a grieving experience. An end of something really great can be a grieving experience. So you go onto a project, let's say, for example, building a house. And once that house is complete, that can be a grieving experience. And just like we've shared so many times, but a change in health and all of a sudden having to be taken care of, and for seniors having their children move away. I mean, there's so many things.
How about just moving?
Just moving.
And I'm seeing that all the time here in Santa Clarita, because we're bringing our adult parents into our community to be closer to us, and we're moving them into assisted living, boarding cares, and sometimes their own apartments. But they've lived in a house with raising you all their life, and they don't want to move. My mom is 65 years in the same place.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to move. And, she'll come up and visit, here. But she said, thanks for letting me stay at your Santa Clarita Hilton, but I'm going home.
Bless her heart. But she would be an absolute loss if you moved her someplace.
Oh, no doubt about it.
It would
her
it
cats, her
would,
garden.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
all
it
that.
would be literally the end of her life.
Right.
For
It
many
really
is.
would.
Right.
It
so
would.
my dad passed away 4 years ago, and my mom, she stayed with my sister for a while, but my sister is a nurse practitioner, so she's working quite often. And there were long periods where she was away from the home, and it was a little bit of a different situation. My mother was more scared to be alone, but so she came in to live with my husband and I. That was a grieving experience for all of us.
Oh, yes.
It had my husband and I had just become empty nesters, right? My mom was now her husband is gone. She's no longer living in the home that she was comfortable with. She had to adjust to living in our home, being there. We thoroughly enjoy having her, but it was an absolute grieving experience for both of us.
Yes,
My life
absolutely.
changed and her life changed.
Yes.
For sure.
And you put both of those situations together.
Right.
And it may be a happy time at some point, but also there's the grieving time
Yes.
in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you became an empty nester.
Yes.
Your kids left.
Yeah.
And, oh my, that's traumatic.
Yes.
It really is.
It is. There are a lot of people that absolutely grieve that. They absolutely grieve.
They don't know it
They
sometimes,
don't know it.
though.
They absolutely.
Because with some of my
That's true.
friends, I recognize their problems, and I discuss, as we're all getting empty nested, I realize my loss, but also I wanted to make sure that I recognize their loss to help them get through it.
Especially for a mom, let's say, that stayed home and her whole life was wrapped up in the kids. But let's say I have a client that I'm working with right now. Her whole life was wrapped up in her boys. They've gone off to college. Her husband is still working a full-time job that he's taken away many times. She's really lonely. She's really lonely, and it is a total grieving experience.
So what do they do?
They grieve it. They literally look at it and grieve it.
But what can, and this is what I think Barbara and I always tell those seniors especially who are going through it, volunteer, get out there, take a step forward, go to church,
So what
become
happened
an
with
integral
her-
part of the community.
What happened with her was after she realized it and she was able to fix the loneliness, she started talking to me about ideas for herself. What about this and what about that? And she started trying things. She literally started trying things, and she went and ended up getting a part-time job because that's what she needed. And you see her now, and she's just in a lighter place. Her life is just lighter. It's not that pain and loneliness and sadness that she was experiencing, for sure. For sure.
And just getting off the topic, since you talked about part-time jobs, last night on the news is this big deal because with the up-and-coming holiday season, they need people to work in the brick-and-mortar stores, like at the mall and other Target and other places, and they can't find people.
Yeah.
So I looked at Robin and I said the best place to look are at the seniors.
Yeah.
Because seniors would like a few extra
Oh,
bucks.
absolutely,
And they're
they would.
usually and typically pretty perfect in what they do and pretty well trained in being able to talk with people and learn real quick. So you seniors out there who are looking for purpose and feeling a little down, go get a job for the holidays. You'll have it for 2 or 3 months at least.
And the thing is, don't be afraid. I think
There
that
you go.
sometimes our seniors get afraid because they think the technology is going to take them over. But
That's
you've
right.
been in the store where you've been frustrated, like, where's that wrench? What aisle's the wrench on? And to have the senior come up to you and say, oh, ma'am, it's right here on aisle 3. They can be of such help and such
That's
guidance. Just
true.
finding somebody with the right color vest on who can walk you through. They will be valuable. They're great. They enjoy seeing the children. Don't be afraid. Absolutely, 100%. Don't hold back. Definitely do it.
Yes, go for it.
Go for
Go
it.
for it. And I see, evil eye over there. We need to take a break. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Sharon.
You're very welcome.
Once
And
again,
we
thank
will
you.
see you next month.
Next month.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Aloha, friends! Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in New Hall. Stop by and say aloha.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
I'm Janet Demeter. My son Jack was born in 2008 on a Saturday night. But 5 weeks later, our family lost everything in the Merrick fire. And then we moved to Santa Clarita, where we live now. Jack was my shining light in those days. He had this huge smile that would make me feel like everything was going to be okay. But when he was 3, our sweet boy was diagnosed with DIPG brain cancer. 9 months later, we lost Jack. This is something I never want anyone else to hear. So I started working to raise awareness. I contacted my local officials, and Steve Knight was amazing. Not just his staff, but Steve Knight personally. Congressman Knight has authored many bipartisan bills signed by presidents from both parties. That is why I was thrilled when he authored H-Res 69 to bring national attention to childhood brain cancer. Steve Knight, to me, is the perfect example of a local community leader working on behalf of the people he represents. Thank you, Steve.
I'm Steve Knight, and I approve this message.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM, 98.1 FM, and AM-1220, your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we have one of our sponsors visiting us today, Myles McNamara of Comfort Keepers in Home Care.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Myles.
I'm well. Always good to come cause trouble with you guys. You're so rowdy. Barbara and Jean, we always call security.
That's fine. I'd rather be rowdy than not.
There you go.
So what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, not to bore our reoccurring listeners, but for any of our new listeners, being we're 98.1 FM too, just I want to kind of talk about some home care and what it is, and then we'll cover up some other issues that we talked about off air that I think would be good for our listeners and adult children caring for our older loved ones, and then a couple events that are coming up. But the first thing I want to just kind of give an overview. What is home care? A lot of folks don't know what they don't know, and home care basically gets confused a lot of times with home health. Which is, as you know, Dr. Dorio, when the doctor prescribes a nurse to come in for an hour or less to maybe check vitals, give meds, dress wounds, whatever the case may be. Whereas home care is strictly non-medical, which is 90% of the time what our seniors need. They just need an additional helping hand in the home to allow them to stay where all their memories have been for the last 50 years, meaning that we can do all activities of daily living. We can help them take their meds on time. We can help with meal preparation, clean up around the house, get them to their doctor's appointments, make sure they're hydrating and eating nutritious meals. So a lot of times folks don't know that home care is basically a professional version of an adult child or daughter, meaning that you have those adult kids that are what we call the sandwich generation, taking care of their own family and kids and running over and taking care of mom and dad. And I came up with a new term last weekend at the Caregiver Resource Day at the Senior Center. We call it the club sandwich generation, meaning it's a triple decker, because now we have folks that are caring for aging loved ones, and then we also have their adult children who've moved in with them, and they have grandchildren. So now you've got the triple decker. So now you
see that all the time.
So now you've got that sandwich or the club sandwich generation who is running to make sure mom and dad took their meds on time. They've got their 30-year-old daughter that's moved back into the house who has her kids with them as well. So now they've got grandkids But anyway, so what we do is we provide that helping hand.
It sounds like chaos.
It really does. And you hit the nail on the head, Barbara, because we try to bring a semblance of calm back to the storm. because you've got the adult kids that are just running ragged, and we want to give them back the role of son or daughter and let us take care of the role of being the caregiver. We don't want them to have to run over to see mom, and instead of having some quality time, they're filling her cabinets, they're going to the store, they're cleaning the house, they're throwing in laundry, they're whatever it is they're doing. They don't just to sit and be able to enjoy the quality time. They're doing the chores so that they can get back to their triple-decker sandwich. So it's and the thing that I really want our listeners to think about and do some due diligence on is, unfortunately, home care is private pay unless you have long-term care insurance. But coming up in 2019, I want our Medicare folks to take a look at, when it's open enrollment, which is coming up, is some Medicare Advantage plans are actually starting to bring home care into their umbrella of coverage. So as you're looking, a lot of folks, they stay with straight up Medicare and get a gap insurance like an ARP or something. That's not happening yet. I think it will, because I think the cost effectiveness and the wisdom of it is just going to overtake everybody. But there are Medicare Advantage plans, i.e. your Kaisers, your Scans, your Health Nets, some of your other United Healthcare. They're considering, if not already have made the decision on some fronts, to bring home care into their coverage package. So as our seniors look around during open enrollment, I would encourage them to evaluate Advantage plans, which basically means you assign your Medicare benefits to a Kaiser or to a Health Net or to whatever, a Scan. They are bringing that into their umbrella. So unfortunately, Medicare straight up isn't yet. And if you're confused, as is very easy to do during open enrollment, is I would hire a trusted advisor to go over the options with you. One guy that I used who helped me with my mom a lot is Paul Davis of Paul Davis Insurance. He's an expert when it comes to your Medicares, your Medicare supplemental plans, your Medicare Advantage plans, especially your Part D medication prescription coverage. It's just so confusing. So, and that Paul's service is free to the clients, seniors. He obviously gets his pay through the companies that he refers, which always begs the question, well, he's just going to refer me to the biggest commission-paying people, and that's not true. I know Paul. He's been in this industry for, I think he was voted best insurance agent for 17 years in a row recently. But they can call me if they need any more information on how to get a hold of Paul. But really look at your medical coverage, folks. Open enrollment happens once a year. Really make sure that you've got the coverage that best fits your needs, especially the Part D, as in dog, because that covers your medications. And what was covered last year may not be changed or covered next year, because they have what they call the covered formularies. And you may be on a generic or a name brand drug that your insurance company now has taken off of their formulary list and no longer pays for that medication. And next time you go to get a refill, they're going to say, okay, that's $110. It's no longer covered by your policy. So really be careful with that.
The important part about home care and comfort keepers in home care is ultimately, bottom line, is to keep that individual in their home.
Absolutely.
We see too many people having some medical problems that could have been stopped, and maybe taking their medicine incorrectly, maybe having furniture in the wrong place and falling because of it. There are things that you look at in your work all the time, Myles, that assures that these patients, these individuals, stay in their homes, and seniors don't want to end up in a nursing home.
And you hit the nail on the head in that, and that's what I always try to educate folks. We get a lot, we're not ready yet. And I'm saying, okay, so you want to wait till someone gets hurt or slip and falls. Two of the main reasons that our seniors go into the hospitals are slip and falls and mismanagement of their medications.
Both of us.
Which is what you just said, taking the meds at the wrong time, improper dosage, what have you. So I always encourage people, be proactive, don't be reactive. Because if we can get in there, and when I say be proactive, one of the biggest aspects of what we do that is often ignored and overlooked is companionship. Depression and isolation of our seniors is one of the leading causes of suicides, depression, whatever. So don't undersell the fact that mom or dad, who maybe lost a spouse of 50 years recently, are sitting at home all alone. And you're thinking, oh, they're fine. They don't need help yet. The companionship is huge, but be proactive. Don't be reactive. And a lot of times if they're not hydrating, it segues me into my next kind of topic. And you as a physician, Dr. Dorio, can help out with this. We've had as we're coming to the end of summer now, we've had a really an increase in folks saying, mom's got dementia or Alzheimer's. She was driving and playing poker last week, but now she's totally gone. And I try to say, folks, it doesn't come overnight. Dementia or Alzheimer's is a progressive, nasty disease, but it doesn't come within a week's time. So mom probably has a urinary tract infection or a UTI, which also sometimes has the symptoms of disorientation, memory loss. And as a doctor, I'm sure you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, and this is the ongoing problem that we see in our patients every day. Where there's a sudden change, and sudden can be over a few days. Like you're saying, if it's over like 6 months or a year, it's a different story. But with some patients, there's a change. And of course, some people will jump to the conclusion, this is dementia, they're getting old, when in fact, it's a treatable problem that just needs to be looked at.
Right.
The problem sometimes is, one, there's resistance by the loved one not to go to the doctor. Two, when they want to go to the doctor, they can't get into an appointment for 6 weeks. And, we have, if you can't get into your doctor and you feel that there's something wrong, you use one of the urgent cares now. You just,
a walk-in.
Just make sure that your loved one is taken care of immediately. Why? People get infections and antibiotics will make a difference, but if it goes too long, and the person is already in some weakened state, you could end up having something called sepsis, where the infection goes throughout the body. And that's life-threatening.
Right.
And lots of times you not only need to be on antibiotics, you have to be hospitalized because of it. So there are many a time with our senior patients that things are taking place, and we can do something about it beforehand because more eyes are watching them. More eyes are on them. And when you have people coming into your home and taking a look around and looking at the medicines, all of that, it makes a difference in keeping patients out of the hospital and in their own home. And to me, that's quality of life.
And the biggest thing for the takeaway here is it doesn't come within a week.
Right.
So again, I get that a lot, as I said earlier. Mom was great last week. She was driving or whatever, but now I guess she has Alzheimer's.
Right.
No. That's not.
Don't think that way.
That's not an overnight sensation, unfortunately. And which again, boy, our segues are just happening automatically. Which, speaking of Alzheimer's, if you don't know already, we have our annual Alzheimer's walk coming up next week? What's this? No, 2 weeks from
2 weeks,
on October 6th. So if you'd like to be involved, we have Comfort Keepers has a team. We're a national sponsor, so if you'd love to march with Comfort Keepers, we would love to have you. But you can also, start your own team. I mean, it's again, Saturday, October 6th from 9 a.m. at Bridgeport Park right here in Valencia. And there'll be vendor booths and celebrations and the walk, of course. And the goal is to raise money for research to find a cure. It's actually called the 2018 Walk to End Alzheimer's. Bridgeport Park is right over there on Newhall Ranch Road. And again, if you'd like to be on the Comfort Keepers team, we would love to have you, but you could also go and formulate your own team at Alzheimer's. There's a website here, I'm sure, that I've just put my glasses on. But we have a local contact that if you wanted to get more involved, Lori Blumenthal, is with the Alzheimer's Association. But, rather than if you're driving or what have you, you know how to get a hold of me. Call me, contact me to start your own team, to join the Comfort Keeper team. But we really need to raise money for the cure of Alzheimer's. Right now they have 325 participants and 81 teams involved in the walk.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it is good. And they've reached 61% of their goal. I think they beat their goal last year. This year's goal is $110,000 to be raised. So far, they've got commitments of $67,000 plus. So we have a couple weeks to meet our goal. Get your team together, walk out, and have somebody sponsor you for $1 of. No, a little bit more than that. But again, it's important, folks, because Alzheimer's, as you know, is a very nasty, nasty, nasty disease. There's no cure in sight, so we need to keep up the research. But the biggest thing is the Alzheimer's Association does not just do the research for a cure. Almost equally important are the support groups that they offer, and the educational programs for loved ones caring for somebody with Alzheimer's. So there's a vast different approach to what they do, but this is just to raise money for the, obviously, research, but also for the support groups and the other advocacy things that the Alzheimer's Association does.
Well, it's interesting because I don't think they know what causes Alzheimer's or dementia.
Well, they're getting close. I think they understand that there's certain cells in the brain that doesn't talk to each other. I just saw a term for it the other day called lazy brain or something. But they don't know how to stop it. They don't know how to reverse it. They see what's happening in there, but they don't know how to stop or reverse it.
I call it short circuiting.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, we have the big thing that's out there, and I think even mentioned today online here from the station, is a discussion about how those who have Alzheimer's and you play music and all of a sudden that part of the brain is functioning again.
Right.
And I had a patient who was 99 years old and she had profound Alzheimer's. But if you put her in front of a piano, she'd knock off Chopin and Beethoven playing the piano.
Yeah.
And even though her circuits were mixed up, the circuit for her music memory was right there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we're using a lot of that, with the hope that we can reconnect.
And I think we also know that's one of the symptoms of Alzheimer's. They can remember the names of the folks they went to high school with.
Yes, that's
but
right.
they can't remember what they had for breakfast yesterday,
Yes.
and they ask there's what we call the loop, they ask the same questions and they, do the same things. But you're right, music therapy for an Alzheimer's patient is you see amazing results with that, but it's really important that we get folks involved in this. It's always a great event, and with 81 teams, that's awesome, but let's get that up there. And so just, shoot me an email at miles@comfortkeepers.com if you want more information to either walk with us or to formulate your own team, and it'll be a great event, always is. They also have this whole segment where they have the flowers of different colors. It's like, have you lost, one color is if you've lost someone to Alzheimer's, one color is if you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's, one color is actually even if you're there with Alzheimer's. And it's always a very touching part of the whole ceremony and the presentation of the day. But yeah, there'll be music and events and we, they do a good job making it an enjoyable day. So shout out to me if you'd like more information on that.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about the caregivers of those who have Alzheimer's, because I think in terms of the task itself, Myles, it's not easy and they do need to have that support. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But I think in the whole conglomeration of all those who are caregivers out there, the ones who burn out the fastest are those who are taking care of their Alzheimer's loved ones. So how do we, we have support groups for that, and the association is helping with that, but how do we focus on making sure that the patients are okay, but yet the caregivers, are focused on as well?
Right, and that's a huge part of which kind of we'll talk about some workshops that are coming up. But the family caregiver, you hear all those comparisons of you have to take care of yourself before you can care for someone else, which is why when we're on an airplane, they say to put your oxygen mask on first before you assist others. We know why, because if you pass out from hypoxia before that you help anybody,
That's right.
Same thing with secure your life vest before helping others. There's a reason we take care of ourselves first, so that then we can care for other people. We just had a very successful event put on by the Senior Center with their annual Caregiver Resource Day last weekend, and that was really the crux of everybody's message is you need to take care of yourself. And so with that said, we have another program coming up that the Senior Center is partnering with College of the Canyons. And, again, that family caregiver that's, if you put a price tag on it, is in the billions of dollars of unpaid care that loved ones give to their, caregiver, Caregiver E. But anyway, it's called the Essentials for Family Caregiver Workshop Series. And we did this last year, the Senior Center and the College of the Canyons, and it was a huge success. So it's coming back again this year. And it's a series of 4 workshops starting on October 13th, November 10th, December 8th. And we haven't booked the last one yet, but the first one coming up on October 13th is huge. Because it's titled Legal Empowerment of the Advocate, How to Legally Be an Advocate, an Effective Advocate, and Avoid the Court, put on by elder law attorney Jane McNamara. But it's huge, and folks don't understand the importance, and we always talk about our seniors, and you guys have heard me talk about it before, it's if we also have children who have become 18 years of age that are now legal adults, we can no longer play the dad or mom card. If they don't have legal documents in place that says that we can tell you, Dr. Dorio, what kind of medical treatment, you say, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you because I don't have the legal documents to take your word for it. So anyway, put it on your calendar, folks. It's the Essentials for Family Caregiver Workshop Series, the first one on October 13th. It helps you become the legal empowered advocate for your loved one from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. right here at our local senior center at 22900 Market Street. Again, you want more information, please give me a call or contact KHTS because we ask that you register. There's a phone number, 661-362-3118. You can register for the workshop series, and it's amazing stuff, and it helps you care for yourself.
Is that a flyer?
It is. I have a stack of them. I can give you guys a few, and I'm going to leave some here at KHTS. And again, I know, Dr. Dorio, you probably run across adult caregivers everywhere you go, and so, spread the word. There's a one on the 10th of November, that's communication and conflict resolution for the caregiver. And that kind of circles back to what we were talking about earlier, is when we're caring for somebody with Alzheimer's, is the caregivers are thrust into this role with no training. So it's kind of like they're just presumed to know what to do. And there is a certain approach when you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's that, you can't try to approach it logically. You have to sort of live in their moment. If they tell you the sky looks beautiful and green, why argue with them? Just, say, I know green's my favorite color, and it looks like we need to take a break, so I'm going to shut up.
Great information, Myles. We appreciate your input. We are going to take a break on your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org. All-Star Sports Grills is the best place in town to catch a Dodger game on one of their 17 screens and choose a cold one from 23 different tap beers. All-Star Sports Grills prides itself on their fresh, made-to-order menu, including half-pound Angus burgers. Enjoy an all-star comedy show the fourth Wednesday of the month. All-Star Sports has a pet-friendly and smoking patio. All-Star Sports Grills on Bouquet Canyon, north of Plum Canyon.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
They're at it again. It's yet another attempt to add more government bureaucracy to healthcare. This time it's Proposition 8. And who's behind 8? One labor union trying to impose new government bureaucracy on every medical dialysis clinic in California. It's a complete abuse of our initiative system. And even worse, it puts bureaucracy between patients and their doctors. And Prop 8 will force dialysis clinics to cut back services or shut down, sending thousands of sick patients into already crowded ER rooms. Experts warn Prop 8 will cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. Join groups representing doctors, nurses, and taxpayer advocates in voting no on 8. Stop this costly dialysis proposition. Paid for by no on Proposition 8. Stop the dangerous dialysis proposition. Sponsored by the California Dialysis Council. Committee major funding from DaVita and Fresenius Medical Care North America.
Now FM, 98.1 FM, and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 60?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Myles McNamara, who is the owner of Comfort Keepers in-Home Care. And boy, have we covered a lot of stuff.
We're bouncing around, aren't we?
Yes, and according to your list, there's still more to cover.
Well, I just wanted to I stopped in the middle of the upcoming Essentials for Family Caregivers workshop series, and I just want to kind of circle back to the importance of having your legal ducks in a row. And what does that mean? And
durable power
because you're also talking about having your agent, which doesn't have to be a son or a daughter. A lot of folks always say, "Oh, well, my oldest son will do that," or "He's the oldest." He gets no. It doesn't have. Usually, it's a better idea to have a child who is the agent. But I think it's a lot of times that's a good solution as well, as long as all the other brothers and sisters know. But here's the big part: is when you have these papers in order, there is no real decision or discussion to be had by the kids. Mom or dad has already told you what they want. So it's not a matter of standing in the waiting room saying, well, mom would have wanted this or dad would have wanted that. Now there's no discussion, there's no arguments, there's no guilt. You talked about it already. You put it on paper, you signed it, it's a legal document, you had it notarized, and it says, I want this, all the way to, as you guys know, to what music they want played at their funeral sometimes, or in lieu of flowers, donate money here. So, I mean, it's very, very specific, but also, from a physician's standpoint, they have what they call a POLST, which is, again, telling people what you want, which stands for Physician's Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment. And it used to be referred to, and sometimes still is, as the DNR, or the Do Not Resuscitate, because a lot of people, they'll make that blanket statement, I don't want to be on a machine, pull the plug. Well, what if it's temporary for like 4 days to get you over a hump, and after that hump, you're going to live a fruitful, fun life, or is it forevermore? So you need to designate that. If it's forevermore, just to sustain me, then pull the plug, which is kind of a crass term, so I apologize. Discontinue. But if it's just to get you over a hump that you will heal and recover and live a fun life, why would you want to pull the plug? So again, you want to talk about those things. I always tell a quick story of my wife's grandmother's boyfriend, who was in his 80s, made me his advanced healthcare directive agent. So he unfortunately killed somebody by turning left into oncoming traffic, seriously injured himself, was on a ventilator, all this stuff. And, I walked into the room and he's looking at me like, let me die, let me die, let me die. And if looks could kill. But I went out in the hall and I talked to the doctor and I said, what's up? And he gave me all the facts. And he said, Frank's going to be fine if we can get him. If he lives the next 2 days, everything comes off and he'll be fine. So, I walked in and I tried to tell him that, and he was just, he had wanted nothing to do with it. But again, he had told me what he wanted before he was in trauma, like he was. He said, if it's temporary, yes, get me over the hump. So we had that discussion. So even though he wasn't clear of mind laying in the bed, I wasn't making any personal decisions. I was following what he told me to do, knowing he was a little confused at this point in time. So long story short, the old buzzard ended up living another 10 years and just wreaking havoc on us all. And he and I talked about that a lot. That's why you do this. That's why you think of all the hypotheticals. You put someone in charge that you trust will follow your directions. Not to say, oh, you know what, Frank said this, but I kind of think he meant that.
Well, the same thing happened with my husband's sister-in-law. His brother's wife. His brother had passed away, and Lee had severe kidney problems, was on kidney dialysis. I used to go 3 days a week with her to the hospital for it. And she was in Sterling Canyon. It used to be Sterling Canyon. Now, and I was there, and Russ was there, and she had made Russ her designated, whatever you call it here. And she said to the hospice people, I don't want any more stuff. I don't want to live anymore. I want to be with Hank. And you know, what do you say at a time like that? Because if she didn't have that medication, she wasn't going to live.
Right.
But it was her decision, and she made that decision. And Russ, being the caretaker, whatever it was you were talking about, the agent,
designated agent,
he gave the hospice people the permission not to do it anymore.
to discontinue treatment.
And 3 days later, she peacefully passed away.
Right.
And that's what she wanted.
Well, the biggest, you probably
And
remember.
that was many years ago.
Right.
So things probably, I know they've changed
Well,
quite a bit.
it's been a while now, but I think we all remember that horribly sad case out of Florida, Terry Chavo, was that the name?
Yes.
Where, again, none of this stuff was done. The husband was trying to dictate, but she had nothing on paper, so the courts were deciding, and everything was being decided by the courts. Which, I mean, that was a heartbreaking case. But
It
what
was.
an example to point out to people: get your ducks in a row, have your
Everything.
map drawn, and have your driver designated.
Right, Myles. Great information. If our listeners want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Well, I'm right here on Lyons Avenue, been around 17 plus years, so you can go to comfortkeepers.com. I've got another site that has videos of frequently asked questions at seniorcaresantaclarita.com, or shoot me an email at Myles with a Y at comfortkeepers.com, or you can call me at 661-287-4200.
Myles, great having you on the show again. Lots of information that invaluable to our seniors. We are sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.